I was sitting in the garage, surrounded by boxes I hadn't touched in 8 months. 8 months since Dorothy lost her fight with breast cancer, and I still couldn't bring myself to pack away her things. Her garden gloves were right where she'd left them, folded neatly on the shelf like she'd just stepped inside for a glass of water. I picked them up, turned them over in my hands, and felt that familiar weight settle deep in my chest, the kind of heaviness that doesn't announce itself anymore. It just lives there. The house felt hollow now. Too much space for one man. Our daughter Renee kept telling me I should downsize, find somewhere easier to manage. Her husband Marcus was even more insistent about it. Think about it, Earl. No more lawn to worry about. No more gutters to clean. A nice condo in Buckhead would be perfect for you. He'd say it every single visit. Always smiling, always reasonable, always a little too prepared with the suggestion. I set Dorothy's gloves back on the shelf and checked my watch. 2:15. I had an appointment across town with her attorney, Walter Hughes, at 3. Something about final documents requiring my signature. I'd been putting it off for weeks, but Walter had called twice this month, and his assistant had made it clear this wasn't optional. The drive from our neighborhood in southwest Atlanta to Walter's office in Midtown took longer than I expected. 1 to 285 was backed up heading north, and I sat in traffic thinking about Dorothy. 43 years together. We'd met at Morehouse in Spelman. She was across the street, brilliant and determined, one of the only women in her engineering cohort who refused to be invisible. She was never invisible. Not once in her life. Walter's office was on the 12th floor of a building lawn, Peachtree Street, with a view of the skyline that Dorothy would have loved. His assistant, a woman named Carla, who had sent flowers to the house during Dorothy's final weeks, greeted me with a quiet nod. "Mr. Caldwell, please go right in. Mr. Hughes is expecting you." Walter stood when I walked in, shook my hand with both of his. He'd been our family attorney for nearly 20 years. He'd handled our wills, our property transfers when we bought the house in College Park, the paperwork when Dorothy launched her landscape consulting business. He knew us well. He knew her well. Robert, thank you for coming. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. His expression was steady, deliberate. What I'm about to give you, Dorothy left very specific instructions about. She recorded it 10 weeks before she passed. She made me promise not to give it to you until at least 6 months had gone by, and until certain conditions were met. My throat tightened. What conditions? That the estate was fully settled, that Renee and Marcus had received their inheritance disbursement, and most importantly, he paused, that you came here alone. He slid open his desk drawer and pulled out a small USB drive. Dorothy was very clear. You need to watch this privately. She said you'd understand why once you'd seen it. He handed it to me. I turned it over in my palm. Written in Dorothy's handwriting across the label. For Earl. Watch alone. I love you. I have a private room down the hall, Walter said quietly. Take all the time you need. The room was small. Just a desk, a computer, and a chair with good armrests. The walls were thick. My hands weren't steady as I plugged in the drive. The screen flickered. And there she was. Dorothy, sitting in our bedroom, in the chair by the window that overlooked the backyard. I could see the magnolia tree behind her, the one we'd planted the spring Renee graduated high school. She was thin, wearing the burgundy wrap she'd loved those last few months, but her eyes were the same as always, sharp, certain, present. Hello, my love. Her voice caught just slightly. If you're watching this, I've been gone for a while now. I hope you're eating right. I hope you went back to the Thursday night Domino's with the fellas. I hope you're still getting your coffee from Ms. Clara's place on MLK Drive. I pressed the back of my hand against my mouth. I hadn't been to Domino's once. Miss Clara always asked about her. Earl, I need to tell you something that's going to be hard to hear. I need you to promise me. Promise me you'll watch this entire recording before you do anything. Just listen. She took a slow breath. I don't trust Marcus. My stomach dropped. I know Renee loves him. I know you want to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he's her husband, the father of our grandchildren. But Earl, I've been watching him for years. I've been paying attention in the way that women learn to pay attention when something feels wrong, but no one around them is ready to hear it yet. And what I've seen frightens me. She leaned slightly forward. Do you remember when Marcus suggested you give him power of attorney? 2 years ago. Said it would make things easier while I was sick, help with bills and medical decisions. You said no, thank God. But Earl, that wasn't a normal thing to ask. We had our own attorney. We had each other. Why would he even bring that up? I remembered. Marcus had framed it as being helpful, taking pressure off our shoulders. I'd felt uneasy but couldn't name why, and the refinancing talk. He kept pushing you to pull equity out of the house. Said the rates were good, said it was smart investing. Earl, we paid off that house 12 years ago. We don't owe a single cent on it. Why would we take on debt now? She looked directly into the camera. I started doing some digging. I hired a private investigator out of Marietta. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I needed to be sure before I brought it to you, because I knew if I was wrong, it would damage everything. And if I was right, I needed evidence. Not feelings. Evidence. The screen shifted. Documents filled the display. Bank statements. Credit reports. Casino logs. Harrah's Cherokee in North Carolina. Online gambling platforms. Cash withdrawal records. All under Marcus's name. The numbers were staggering. He owes over $230,000. Dorothy's voice continued over the documents. He's been borrowing from people who don't send polite reminders. That's why he's always encouraging Renee to ask us for help. The roof repair fund we gave them last year. The business investment he needed $15,000 for. Earl, none of it went where he said. The screen returned to her face. There's more. By May, the investigator had found evidence of an affair. A woman named Vanessa. She works at the Cherokee Casino. They've been seeing each other for at least 2 years. I felt the room tilt. Lisa Renee. She doesn't know. I wanted to tell her immediately. But then I got the diagnosis. Stage 4. And I realized that if I told her while I was dying, Marcus would reframe everything. He'd say I was bitter, confused, that the pain medication was affecting my judgment. He'd make her choose between her sick mother and her husband. And Earl, that would have broken her. It would have broken something in her that she might not have gotten back. Tears were moving down my face. Now. Women know things, she said quietly. We notice things years before anyone believes us. I noticed Marcus a long time ago. I just needed proof before I could protect you. She straightened in her chair. So I made a different choice. I documented everything. I'm leaving the evidence with Walter, all of it, but only after you've had time to grieve. Only after the estate is settled, so Marcus can't claim this is about money. Gerald Walter has everything the investigator found. She paused, then said something I'll never forget. Robert, I need you to look at our last year together. Really look. The screen changed again. Dorothy had made a timeline. My chest tightened as I read it. October. Renee cancels Thanksgiving at our house. Marcus says his cousin is sick in Charlotte. They need to go. Investigator confirms Marcus was at Cherokee Casino with Vanessa. His cousin was fine. November. Your Thursday Domino's canceled 3 times in a row. Marcus calls each time claiming you seemed off when you two spoke, that maybe you shouldn't be driving at night. Earl, you weren't off. He was manufacturing a pattern. December. Renee doesn't come. Christmas Eve. Marcus tells her you said to come Christmas Day instead. You said Christmas Eve. He lied. January. Your old friend Calvin stops calling. Marcus told him you said Calvin had been overcharging you on car work for years. Calvin's been honest with you since 1998. Marcus lied. February. Your blood pressure medication changes. Marcus says your doctor called and updated the prescription. A delivery came from an online pharmacy. Earl. Check with Dr. Pemberton. Did he change anything? The list continued. Small incidents, individually explainable. Together, they were a blueprint. Marcus had been cutting me off, from friends, from family, from my own sense of reality, while Dorothy was dying, and I was too deep in grief to see the geometry of it. Dorothy returned to the screen. She looked tired now, like the recording had cost her something. Earl, I believe Marcus is planning to move on your finances once I'm gone. Push for control. Maybe try to have you declared incompetent. Our house is worth over $800,000 now. Our savings, the retirement accounts, the investments, together it's close to $2 million. Enough to erase every debt he has. She leaned close to the camera. Promise me you'll talk to Walter. Promise me you'll show Renee the evidence when the time is right. And Earl, promise me you'll remember who you are. You are 63 years old. You are healthy. You are sharp. Don't let anyone, make you feel like you can't manage your own life. Her expression softened. I love you so much. I'm sorry I'm leaving you with this, but I trust you completely. You're the strongest man I've ever known. You'll know what to do. She touched her fingers to her lips, then pressed them to the lens. Goodbye, my love. Take care of our girl. She's going to need you. The screen went black. Sat in that room for a long time. When I finally walked back into Walter's office, he was waiting with his hands folded on the desk. His expression calm but watchful. Did you know what was on it? I asked. Dorothy gave me the general outline. She wanted me prepared in case you needed legal counsel immediately after viewing it. He paused. I also took the liberty of having several of the investigators' findings independently verified over the past few months. Bank records, the prescription records, the casino logs. Robert, Earl, it's all accurate. Every word. Does Renee know? No. Dorothy was very specific. She wanted you to be the one to tell her. When you felt the time was right. I drove home in a daze. The house looked different pulling into the driveway. Same brick, same magnolia tree out front, same welcome mat Dorothy had picked out at the farmer's market in Little 5 Points. But something had shifted underneath all of it, like the foundation had quietly cracked while I wasn't looking. I kept replaying every visit Marcus had made over the past 8 months. Always present, always helpful, always arriving with a new suggestion tucked inside a smile. You should look into one of those medical alert systems, Earl, just in case. Maybe it's time to update the will, just to keep things tidy. Renee and I were thinking, what if we spent a few nights a week here, just to help out? I had taken every single one of those suggestions as kindness, as a son-in-law stepping up. Now I turned each one over like a stone and found something cold and deliberate underneath. That evening, I pulled out every document I could find related to my health, my accounts, my prescriptions. The blood pressure medication Dorothy had flagged, the new pills that arrived after. Marcus claimed Dr. Pemberton had called. I still had the bottle. The next morning, I called the pharmacy first. They had no record of any prescription change. None. Then I called Dr. Pemberton's office directly. His nurse confirmed it clearly. Mr. Caldwell, we haven't changed your medication or contacted anyone about your prescriptions in over a year. I took the pills to a pharmacist I'd known for 15 years. A man named Bernard, who ran an independent pharmacy over on Benjamin E. Mays Drive. I told him I needed them analyzed quietly. He called me back the next afternoon. Earl. His voice was careful. These are beta blockers. They're not what you were prescribed. If you've been taking these for several months instead of your regular medication, it would explain a lot. Fatigue, lightheadedness, difficulty concentrating. From the outside, to someone who didn't know you well, it could look like cognitive decline. Sat down in my kitchen chair and didn't move for a full minute. Marcus had been medicating me, slowly, quietly, building a case that I was slipping, so that when the time came to suggest guardianship, to suggest a power of attorney, to suggest that maybe Earl Caldwell couldn't be trusted to manage his own affairs anymore, there would already be a history, witnesses, a pattern, my own daughter among them. I stopped taking the pills that same day. Within a week, the fog I had been carrying, the one I'd blamed entirely on grief, began to lift. I started thinking more clearly than I had in months. I started noticing details again. I started paying attention. Marcus came by the following Saturday with Renee and the grandkids. We had lunch, and I watched him the entire time. The way he angled conversations, the way he dropped small references to my forgetfulness with a concerned face and a gentle voice. Dad's been having a rough week. He called me Tuesday night, sounding real confused. I worry about him being out here alone. I set my fork down slowly. I didn't call you Tuesday, Marcus. He smiled the smile of a man who had practiced it. Dad, you called me. We talked for almost half an hour. You were asking about the furnace. Said something smelled off. The furnace is fine. And I didn't call you. He glanced at Renee. That glance, quick, loaded, rehearsed. The look that said, see? This is what I've been telling you. Renee reached over and touched my hand gently. Daddy, it's okay. I felt the fury rise in my chest. But Dorothy had taught me something across 43 years of marriage. She had always said that the most powerful thing a person can do in a moment of high emotion is stay quiet just a half-second longer than feels comfortable. So I did. Renee, I said evenly, would you mind taking the kids out back for a few minutes? I need to talk to Marcus alone. Something moved behind Marcus's eyes. Just a flicker. But I saw it. We stepped onto the back deck. The magnolia tree was in full bloom, white flowers heavy on the branches. Dorothy's herb garden along the fence was overgrown, mint and rosemary spilling over the borders. She would have already had it pruned by now. She always knew exactly what needed tending and exactly when. Marcus, I'm going to ask you something directly, and I need you to understand that what you say next matters. He crossed his arms. Okay, how much do you owe? The smile dropped. What? The gambling debts, Cherokee, the online accounts, the people you've been borrowing from who don't send letters. How much? He went pale, then red. I don't know what you're talking about. I also know about Vanessa. The color left his face completely. Robert? Listen, Earl. I said it quietly. My name is Earl. You've known me for 11 years, and you've never once gotten it right. He opened his mouth, closed it. Asterisk. I know about the medication you switched out. I know about the lies you told Calvin, told Dorothy's friends, told my daughter about my own behavior. I know about the timeline, Marcus. Dorothy documented all of it before she died. She saw you long before I did. She saw you clearly, from the beginning, the way women see things that men convince themselves aren't worth worrying about yet. I stepped toward him. She protected this family from beyond her own grave. Think about that for a moment. His jaw tightened. Margaret was sick. People get paranoid when her name was Dorothy. My voice was steel, and she was the sharpest person in any room she ever walked into. Don't you dare. He looked away. Here's what's going to happen, I said. You're going to tell Renee the truth. All of it? The gambling, the affair, the debts, what you've been doing to me. You're going to tell her yourself, because she deserves to hear it from you rather than find it out some other way. If you fight the divorce, if you go after custody, if you make one move against this family, Walter Hughes releases everything to Atlanta PD and to every person in your professional life. Do you understand what I'm saying? His hands were shaking now. She'll never forgive you for this. Blowing up her marriage. I'm not blowing up anything. You did that yourself, quietly, for years, while your wife trusted you and my wife was dying. I opened the back door. You have until Sunday evening. He left 20 minutes later. Made some excuse about a work call. Renee stood in the kitchen looking confused and unsettled. Daddy, what happened? He seemed upset. We just needed to talk, baby. Some things between men. She searched my face. She had her mother's eyes. Always had. Sunday came, and went without a word from Marcus. Sunday evening, I called Renee. Sweetheart, I need you to come over. Alone. It's important. She arrived an hour later, looking like she already knew something was wrong, the way women often do before they've been told a single word. She sat at the kitchen table where she'd done homework as a teenager, where Dorothy had helped her study for her LSATs, where we had celebrated every milestone this family had ever had. I showed her everything. The video, the investigators' reports, the medication analysis, the bank records, the photographs. I watched my daughter absorb it all. I watched her face move through disbelief, through grief, through a terrible clarity that I recognized because I had felt it myself sitting in that small room on Peachtree Street. She cried for a long time. I held her the way I had when she was small, when the world had been cruel to her in the particular ways the world is sometimes cruel to little girls, who grow into extraordinary women. Mom knew, she kept saying. Mom saw all of this, and she still protected me. She protected us both, I said. That's who she was. I feel like I should have seen it. He was careful, baby. And you loved him? Trusting the person you love isn't a character flaw. That's just love doing what love does. She wiped her face and looked at me steadily. She was always smarter than everyone in the room. Yes, I said. She was. Renee filed for divorce 4 days later. Marcus contested it. Tried to claim the evidence was fabricated, that I had manipulated Renee's grief. But Walter Hughes had been Dorothy's attorney for 20 years, and he was exceptionally good at his job. The divorce was finalized. Renee got full custody. Marcus relocated to Houston, last I heard, likely putting distance between himself and the debts that had started all of this. 6 months after the confrontation on the deck, I was out in the backyard on a Saturday morning, working through Dorothy's garden. The rosemary needed cutting back. The raised vegetable beds needed fresh soil. I was on my knees in the dirt, my hands working through the earth the way hers always had, when I heard Renee's car pull up the drive. She came around back carrying food from our favorite spot on Auburn Avenue. Thought you might want company, she said. We ate on the deck as the afternoon light moved across the yard. The magnolia tree cast long shadows over the herb garden. The neighborhood was quiet in the good way. Kids somewhere down the street, someone's gospel music drifting over a fence. I scattered some of Mom's ashes under the magnolia, Renee said quietly. Last month. I hope that was all right, It's perfect, I said. She loved that tree. I talk to her sometimes. Tell her about the kids, about work. Tell her how angry I still am at Marcus. Tell her how grateful I am. She looked at me. How are you doing, Dad? For real, better. I meant it. I went back to Domino's. Started getting my coffee from Miss Clara's again. Called Calvin. Apologized for the silence. He understood. I smiled. Your mother wanted me to keep living, not just moving through the days. She loved you so much. I know. I feel her here still, in the garden especially. I paused. Sometimes when I burn dinner, I swear I hear her laughing at me. Renee laughed. Really laughed. It sounded like Dorothy. I reached over and took her hand. She saved us both, you know, even after she was gone. That night, after Renee left, I went back to the garage. Dorothy's garden gloves were still on the shelf. I took them down, cleaned them carefully, and set them in the basket with the rest of the tools. Ready for next season. The wind moved through the magnolia tree outside, and I stood there in the quiet, and I felt her. Not in a way I could explain to anyone. Just present. Just near. I love you. I said to the empty garage. Thank you for seeing what I couldn't see. Thank you for trusting me to handle it. Thank you for protecting our girl. I went inside, locked up, and turned off the lights. Tomorrow, I'd work on the vegetable beds. Maybe call Renee about planting Dorothy's yellow roses along the fence line. She always said gardens were about faith, about preparing for seasons you might not live to see, but believing they'll come anyway. I was 63 years old. I was alone in a house that used to hold two people's entire lives. But I wasn't lost. I wasn't fading. I wasn't the diminished, confused old man Marcus had been quietly constructing. I was exactly who Dorothy had always known me to be. And somewhere under that magnolia tree, in the garden she had tended and loved and left behind as a kind of last letter to us both, she was still watching over her family. Still right. Still strong. Still the sharpest person in any room she'd ever walked into. I went to bed and slept deeply. In my dreams we were young again, sitting on the yard at Clark, Atlanta, on a warm April evening. Dorothy laughing at something I'd said, her whole face lit up and unguarded and free. When I woke up, the grief was still there. It always will be. But beside it now was something steady. Something she had placed there deliberately before she left. The truth. The evidence. The proof that love doesn't simply end. Sometimes it transforms. Into protection. Into foresight. Into the quiet, unshakable strength of a woman who refused to leave the people she loved UNDFENDED up, made coffee, and looked out at the magnolia tree in the early morning light. Another season. Another chance to honor her. I picked up my phone and called Renee. Want to bring the kids over this weekend? I thought we'd plant your mother's yellow roses along the back fence. The ones she always wanted there. I'd love that. Daddy. Good. I smiled. It's time we started building something new. She wouldn't want us standing still. The morning light moved across the garden. The magnolia swayed slowly in the breeze. Life goes on. Love endures. And sometimes, if you are very fortunate, the woman who loved you most finds a way to protect you long after she is gone, because she saw clearly, planned carefully, and trusted you completely. That is its own kind of grace. The garden was waiting. I was ready.